It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
I can tell you, Judd, the Vikings have done pretty good homework on some of these middle-tier quarterbacks. Maybe even some of the upper echelon ones too, but
good.
I don't think they're landing one of the upper echelon ones, but they have 7 picks between pick 78 and pick 157. Why can't they take a quarterback somewhere among those 7 picks?
They can.
I think it's a distinct possibility. So whether it's Mond, Kyle Trask of Florida is another name that the Vikings have done a good amount of homework on. Ian Book of Notre Dame. There's a bunch of guys. Jamie Newman, who played at Wake Forest. I'm just saying, don't dismiss the possibility. The Vikings haven't done it very often, with Rick Spielman in charge. I guess it would have been Teddy in 2014. Nate Stanley last year in the 7th round when the Vikings had 1 million picks, 15 picks or whatever it was. But I wouldn't be overly shocked if the Vikings went quarterback in the middle rounds this year.
Reckless speculation.
Yes, the vaccine isn't the only needle in my veins today, gentlemen. Wow. Reckless speculation. That's the other needle. I've got needles in both arms today. It's great. That's
what a great thing.
Right here.
What a great thing.
Reckless Speculation Thursday is usually reserved exclusively for Mackey and Judd on Thursdays. It's a lifestyle on Purple Daily, but I think today, so that was from Mackey and Judd, little bonus scoop yesterday. Welcome to Purple Daily, everybody. I think with some of the stuff that Judd threw out, and write that down, with some of the rumors that are floating around about the number 4 pick being open for business, boys,
reckless speculation.
I think we need to do a little reckless speculating between friends. What do you say? What do you say?
I'm usually not comfortable with this. I consider myself a true professional, so I don't really like to do this. But I guess in this case, I will make an exception. It's opening day. I'm in a really good mood. Yeah, you know what? Let's do it just this once, okay? Let's not make this a habit where we're recklessly speculating almost every day of the show.
Actually,
we wouldn't want to do that.
And here's the best part about my day so far. Declan sends me a text and he goes, "Hey, turn your button bar up a little bit." And I'm like, "Wait, you want me to turn the volume up on Reckless Speculation?" Oh my God.
Reckless speculation.
Turn it up as loud
That's coming in hot. That's coming in hot.
And by the way, Purple Daily presented by our friends at TCL TVs. Enjoy more of what you love at TCL. Maybe some. By the way, if you're watching us on a TCL TV, if you're watching us on YouTube, send us a little screenshot so we can send some love to our presenting sponsor. And before we dive in, Federated is here too to help local business owners in the state of Minnesota. They've been around for over 100 years, based in Owatonna. They are one of us. They are Minnesota sports fans as well. They've supported many of the local sports teams in the Twin Cities, and they've been, like I said, supporting business owners for a very long time. They have tools and resources that can give you risk management, peace of mind, and that can help take your business to whatever that maximum level is. So find out more about what Federated does for businesses in the Twin Cities and find a full list of industries Federated protects at federatedinsurance.com. Remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours.
Reckless speculation.
All right.
Give it to me.
So, Judd, I want to tee this up to you and ask you, when you predicted on Write That Down yesterday that the Vikings it was kind of a 2-part prediction, either this or the Vikings would trade up themselves to number 4.
Yes.
What percentage of that is you just having let's just have a little fun on Write That Down versus, you actually think that this could be a discussion taking place behind closed doors?
Oh, no, I would say I'd probably say 85% fun but I mean, there's a credible.
Telling me there's a chance.
It's a chance.
And there are credible reports that I don't know if they originated with Schefter last week, but he certainly had it, that the Falcons are actively shopping this pick. They are getting phone calls. This pick is being shopped. So it's not like I picked a random team and thought, but perhaps the Vikings will trade there. With their need at left tackle, with the other thing I keep coming back to, and I can't decide on this yet, but given what they're doing defensively, Phil, the other thing I keep coming back to is, would they make what could be construed as a reckless trade right now? Because if you're Spielman and Zim, you don't really have a lot of future here for sure, right? Nothing's guaranteed. If you win 8 games, you're probably fired. So, like, how much are you going to be fixated on? We can't give up our 2023 first-round pick because we'll lose that pick. Well, if you're not going to lose that pick, right? It might make sense to say, yeah, this seems like too much right now, but we have to win immediately. And that comes back to the most important thing left, which is for all of the defensive needs and for all of the needs that the Vikings have filled and for all that they feel that their offense is in good shape, they still right now have no left side of an offensive line. So something has to give there. Like you can't just chance that one. And I don't think anyone in Egan is crazy enough to say, Dakota Dozier, I mean, we did see improvement. No, you didn't. So I think if you put the whole stew together and not really being able to tell exactly what the Vikings' intentions are yet, it makes some sense that they would make what could be considered a reckless deal now because they know that if it works, it probably saves a lot of people.
It only makes sense to me I think there is a planet in which it makes sense for a quarterback, but if it's the number 4 pick and you're 99% sure that the first 3 picks are going to be quarterbacks, you'd have to feel so good about whoever the 4th quarterback is going to be, whether it's Justin Fields or Trey Lance, maybe it's Mac Jones. And I just don't think the way the Vikings have operated this entire offseason and the way that they have clearly committed to Kirk contractually and the money that he's going to be guaranteed for the next 2 seasons, I don't think they would trade up for a quarterback anymore. But I don't ever want to say they would never do it. But I'm 99% sure that they would only trade up for a left tackle, probably for Penei Sewell.
Yes.
So if this is at all a conversation, it would be moving up from 14 to 4. And I want to throw this out there just to give us a little something to chew on with this hypothetical. Without spoiling the Peter Schrager mock, which, by the way, came out this morning, and we will midweek mock with Peter Schrager his 1.0. Now he waits until April
and
to put the 1.0 out.
Good for him.
I hope he didn't copy.
Yeah, he did plagiarize Randy in Cottage Grove one time.
I mean, that was that became a real problem, a sticking point, if you will.
They got into a fight on Twitter. It was really bad. But let's just say that I won't tell you the team, but Peter Schrager has a team moving up to the 4th overall pick. And let's just say that team is in the Vikings range. Maybe it's even the Vikings. I'm not going to tell you until we get to the actual mock, okay?
Okay.
But he has a team moving up from the Vikings range up to 4, and he has the price that it took them to move up in this mock.
Nice.
So
cool.
So he does the work. I was Googling NFL draft value charts so that we could do this, but Peter took care of this for us, which is very helpful.
The San Fran trade between them and the Dolphins 2 weeks back probably gives you a pretty good blueprint, right?
It's pretty close. Yep. And
like three first-round picks, I think, and a couple more.
So this is a little less than that because you're moving up for it's not quite as, number 2 pick is on a different level than number 4 pick, but it would cost this year's 1st and 2nd, which the Vikings don't have a 2nd, by the way. So I guess I just spoiled that part of the mock.
Yeah, you just ruined it for all.
And
Thanks, Phil.
next year's 1st and 3rd. So for the Vikings' purposes, let's say, because they don't have a 2nd this year, let's say it's this year's 1st and 2/3 and next year's 1st and a 3rd.
Okay.
Would you consider giving up 1st, and 3/3 over the next 2 years to go from 14 to 4 to draft what may be a left tackle for the next 10 years?
Well, here's where I would. Personally, I probably wouldn't. But here's where I think that there's a case to be made that they might. Their job security and the lack thereof. And at some point in time, you have to find a left tackle or left guard or both, but probably preferably a left tackle who you really trust, who you think is really good. Or I'm fired. Like, I can't say that clearly enough. They are entering a season where if you win 7, 8 games, heck, if you win 9 games, there's no guarantee, right? So personally, if I had security, I would not make that trade. But if it was me with, hey, win now, and your left tackle is with the Bengals, I think you'd consider it, yes. And the key also is, I think you're probably convinced that you have to get to pick 4 because I think that it's probably a very good bet that the Bengals at 5 are going to take Sewell. So it's no joke. Like, you can't get to, hey, I got to 7. No, that's not going to work.
So I'll throw this other one in the mix because we've been talking about it for a month and a half, but I would probably rather trade for Orlando Brown Jr. for a couple different reasons, because I think it would cost you less draft. I don't think you're giving up 2 firsts and a bunch of thirds to get a guy with 1 year left in his contract. Now there are presumably multiple suitors, and so I don't think you're just going to get him for a second round or third round pick. Mike doesn't have a second round pick. You're gonna have to pay something to get what could be a 25-year-old franchise left tackle, right?
Right.
I think the question there would be, let's take the Peter Schrager price tag of 2 firsts and then a second and a couple of thirds to get a rookie scale contract franchise left tackle, and that would be the benefit, right? You would be paying extra draft capital essentially to ensure that you've got a franchise left tackle on a rookie scale contract for 5 years. 5 years, like he would be 26 years old or whatever by the time you pay him big money. And there's certain positions, elite edge rusher, quarterback, even in today's NFL, a wide receiver like Justin Jefferson and a left tackle, if you get those guys and they are elite and they are top 5 or 10 at their position and they're making no money for the first 5 years, that is super valuable.
Yep.
In the case of Orlando Brown Jr., you'd get him for like $3 million on this year's cap, and so you'd be able to fit him into this year's team in a win-now season, and then you'd have to give him a contract extension for 2022 and beyond, and then Brian O'Neill's up for a contract, so you'd have to pay those guys. I would rather do that personally, give up less draft capital. Maybe I have to give up a first-round pick, and then I get Baltimore's second-round pick back or something. I think you're giving up less draft capital, and then I would worry about the salary cap ramifications in 2022. And if that means that, listen, hey, we got to pay a left tackle, a right tackle, Danielle Hunter, we got Dalvin Cook under contract, Kirk Cousins, sorry, man, like we got to say goodbye at this point because we've got all these other pieces around and we have to go and bring in a rookie quarterback. I would lean toward Orlando Brown Jr. over trading up to number 4.
I agree with the philosophy there, player-wise, and why, but the cap thing, like, it sounds good, but I don't know that they will do that, and I don't know that you can pay. Like, the one thing is, if Zim didn't want, and he does, the investment that he desires on defense, I think it would be pretty simple to say we'll pay our quarterback and our tackles, and we'll pay our receivers eventually, and Dalvin Cook as well. But, like, look at what the head coach wants as far as investments in defense, and they're pretty substantial, and they're pretty across the board. So at some point in time, if you're going to pay like the Vikings do on defense to keep guys, at some point you're going to have to come to a position that is a prime position to get paid, where you get that guy, hopefully a good player, quote unquote, on the cheap. And this is the perfect time to point out again that a year ago on Purple Daily on this show, how many times do we talk about the Dalvin Cook decision? And this is exactly why. You are now paying, and he's really good. Not saying he's not, okay? But you are now paying a running back a lot. That's got to come from somewhere. That has to. So that's where you have to find a way to get at least 1 or 2 guys who you really like, who for a extended period of time you don't have to pay a ton to. That goes back to the draft. I don't see how the Vikings can throw money around like they do at certain positions and then be like, well, we'll pay Hunter and we'll pay the left tackle and we'll pay the right tackle and we'll pay Cook and we'll eventually pay Jefferson. Like, that just runs out.
Yeah, I mean, there are some guys that are just going to naturally come off the books in the next couple of years. I mean, Adam Thielen might come off the book, at least for that money. Adam Thielen might come down. Harrison Smith is amazing. Harrison Smith might come off the books in a year or two. He's 32 years old. Declan, where are you at with this? Would you let's say we're talking about a trade up to 4 for Sewell or give up less for Orlando Brown Jr., but you have to start to pay him a ton of money in 2022. Or door 3 or whatever that would be.
I would door 3 would be getting Zach Wilson. That'd be door 3, but I'm not gonna go down that path right now. However, I'm more in the market of trading for Orlando Brown Jr. because I just think putting that much, not pressure, but if you're trading up for Sewell, and you're giving up this year's first, or you're giving up next year's first and multiple draft picks, if you have another 7-9 season and you miss the playoffs, you're on the cusp, it's going to be hard then to also retool and reload the next year. Like, I'd rather just say, you know what, I know who Orlando Brown Jr. is. I think at worst, he's probably at O'Reilly Reef, average to slightly above average tackle, who might make a little bit more money than he should, but he's a competent average tackle, right? I'd rather do that, because if you're moving up to 4 for Sewell, and if you just do not go 11-6, whatever the hell our new records are with the 17-game season, it puts added more pressure and puts you in deeper in a hole for future seasons. And I just don't think the Vikings should be in the market to be doing a trade like that necessarily.
Now, door number 3, I think there's probably a lot of people shouting like, "Wait, why is this like a binary decision? You either have to give up a haul for the 4th pick or a haul for Orlando Brown Jr." Well, this is just a little reckless speculation among friends. We're saying if they were to make a big splash, where might they do it? I think a lot of people are going to say you just have to cross your fingers and hope that the first 7 or 8 picks in the draft are quarterbacks and wide receivers and Kyle Pitts, and that gives you some options. Maybe Sewell goes toward the bottom end of the top 10, but then maybe Rashawn Slater falls to 14. That's how you fix your offensive line. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we could be sitting here speculating on how do the Vikings fix their offensive line with the 14th pick or trading up, and they might be thinking, oh, we're for sure drafting defense in the first round because that's the path that we're on this offseason. We don't know. But let me pose another scenario for you guys. So we've done a couple of these mock draft simulations through the draftnetwork.com. And one of them was trading up to number 4 yesterday, if you missed that, just to spark this discussion. But in both of those cases, if I remember correctly, one of the top 5 quarterbacks or more has fallen to the 14th pick. And I feel like we've sort of moved past that. I think the last time we really talked about the Vikings potentially drafting a quarterback was like November or December, when Kirk hadn't finished off his great run after the bye week yet, right? And it was still very much a discussion of would they move on and draft a quarterback. And then when it became obvious that the top 5 quarterbacks maybe will all go in the top 10, it was like, all right, well, yeah, you can just completely put this conversation to bed. But what if you're sitting there on draft day and you're sitting at 14 and you're just minding your own business and you got your list of edge rushers and you got your list of offensive linemen and you're hyper-focused, and all of a sudden Vikings are on the clock and it's like, oh, Trey Lance is there. Wait, Justin Fields is still on the board? That's interesting. Oh, Mac Jones is still sitting out there at 14. Huh. What do you guys do? If one of those potential franchise quarterbacks, 5-year rookie scale contract, what would they do and what would you do? Which is probably 2 separate answers.
Well, there's three things here. One is they would move backwards. They would trade out. I'm convinced of that now. Like they have put their lot with Kirk. Like they think Kirk can do it. And I think they're convinced that they can win a Super Bowl. I disagree completely, but I think that they are convinced that they can do that. And so I don't think they're going to take a quarterback at 14. What would I do personally? If one fell to me, I would take one. I would take a quarterback. It's worth the gamble, because if you're right, you've solved the problem for a long time. But the third thing that I'm convinced of now, this is all smoke screens to mockers. That's what this is right now. These guys are not falling. The whole Fields thing is such a rope-a-dope. It is such a public rope-a-dope.
Dude, he's been pressured now into doing a second pro day.
Yes,
you guys see
but
that?
I mean,
he's doing a second pro day because of all this.
He ain't falling. He'll be gone in the top 8. He ain't falling. There is no way. This is look. I feel sympathy, I guess, because it looks to me so dumb, and this guy's not dumb, he's smart. The Orlovsky thing last week about there's questions about this guy, how hard he works, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Fields has no questions about that. Like, that's BS. That's put out by people who want it out there because they somehow think, see, this all goes back to how much time teams will spend on their own mental capacity trying to fool different teams when it probably would be better spent to do something constructive for your own team. This is all put out there as a smokescreen. And the problem is the majority of teams don't buy this crap. He will be gone. Mac Jones, I don't know. I think Mac Jones is going to go, and I'm not sure that that's smart or not. I don't know what I think of Mac Jones as a pro prospect. But Justin Fields will be gone by pick 7 or 8.
I think it was the Panthers putting out all the smoke screen because the Panthers were sitting there at 8 for so many weeks, just like, oh my God, the first 5 guys are going to be off the board by the time it gets to us. And I bet the Panthers were planting, all right, hey, Orlovsky, this guy's he's lazy.
Yep.
Nobody's going to want him. It's just trying to get someone to fall. And then they traded for Sam Darnold this week, and they're like, oh, yeah, all that stuff we said about Fields, never mind. He's great. We love Fields. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter to us anymore. We've got Sam Darnold. Doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, I would, if right now my plan would be. So I agree with you. I think they would trade back, and I think there's a better chance of one of those quarterbacks falling. I don't think it's Fields, but I think Trey Lance could still be there at 14. He's raw enough. There's not enough tape on him, especially against good opponents, to where I could see him falling out of the 10, and then maybe once you get to the teens, then it becomes do the Patriots want him? If I'm the Vikings and I'm running the show, I've spent the entire offseason really building for this year and a big bounce back in 2021. And my defense is all ready to rock in the top 10 again and maybe top 5. And I'm looking to put a couple final pieces to this puzzle to win as many games as possible. I'm looking for an offensive lineman. I'm looking for an edge rusher, right? That's my focus. But that's a super narrow view of drafting. We need to win this year and pick the best player for this year. But if you have a quarterback who's mobile, let's take Trey Lance, for instance. Maybe Trey Lance has to sit for a year and just study, do what Pat Mahomes did, right? And do what Aaron Rodgers did for 3 years back in the day. But he's ready to be your starting quarterback on a rookie scale deal with 4 years left in 2022, and he could be a 10-year guy, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of a coin flip because it's a crapshoot. Mm-hmm. If you ignore that because we need Kwity Paye for 2021, I mean, I don't think that's the prudent way to go about front officing. I think the draft is here to help you now for sure, but the draft is meant. I mean, you bring up the 2005 draft all the time, where the Vikings were coming off an MVP season with Dante Culpepper, and I don't think the Rodgers. I'm not ripping them for not drafting Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers was available for every team, and a lot of teams were like, "Oh, we're pretty comfortable with our quarterback right now. We don't need Aaron Rodgers," and they passed on one of the 5 greatest quarterbacks of all time. So I think if you don't have one of the 5 or 6 best quarterbacks in the NFL, you should have your radar up, especially for guys who are mobile and can make your offensive line look better. So I would strongly consider, if Trey Lance fell, I would strongly consider making that pick, even though it helps you 0 for 2021.
Your head coach will not what you said, I agree with completely. The head coach of the Vikings currently doesn't give a damn about Trey Lance. He only cares about how can I stop him eventually? How can I devise a defense to stop him? This guy ain't no good.
Dude, he would be apoplectic if they made that pick. Right?
He'd quit. He'd probably quit or be fired. He'd have to be fired. It just wouldn't work.
Remember when Stone Cold gave the stunner to Vince McMahon? He was hyperventilating, and that would be Mike Zimmer when Trey Lance's name's announced at 14th overall.
Yes.
Dex, would you take Trey Lance at 14?
No, I do not. If the run on quarter, if Lance and Fields are available, I'm trading back. Someone's going to trade up for them. Someone's going to want them more, I think.
If you could get a second round pick back, it would be nice, right?
Yeah, if you can move back, 5, 6 spots and also recuperate a second round pick, I'm in that camp. I really am. I think that'd be the more wiser thing to do. That's where I'm at.
About this time last year, didn't we go through the same exact thing with Tua? That Tua had bad press and that he might fall, and I think we talked about how far might Tua fall, and I said he's going top 5. Fields, I won't say top 5. I will not be surprised, but he's gone with an 8. Trey Lance, to me, I just don't know, because when you don't play you play a showcase game, one showcase game, I don't know, but I think if nothing else, if he starts to fall within the top 10, I think somebody comes up and gets him. I mean, quarterbacks are just, if you find the guy, you're set. Mm-hmm. You are set. So I don't see a scenario where you see a guy start to free fall and now he's at 15, now he's at 20. I think that the Rodgers draft, it wasn't the be-all, end-all, but it was a very, very good cautionary tale about, I'm good at quarterback. Yeah, me too, I pass. I think I'd rather make a mistake at QB than be wrong.
I agree. So many. I think you've just hit on. And by the way, if you ever are wondering what's Judd and I have done a show together for 7 years, what's the biggest sports argument we've ever gotten in? It was the day that Judd said the Vikings deserve criticism for passing on Aaron Rodgers in 2005.
Twice.
And we literally fought for like 2 hours and took phone calls.
They took Erasmus James.
Yeah. And Troy.
And Troy.
Williamson?
Yeah. Troy went number, was it the
7th?
5th? Was okay.
Yeah, like
the 7th pick
or something.
Yeah.
in the Moss trade.
And Erasmus was
then
like 20th.
Erasmus was like 19th. Yes.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah, they passed him twice.
That was really bad.
But anyway,
But hold
if
on,
you
but-
get that guy, you know.
But you just brought up real quick to put a bow on this, and we'll get to the Peter Schrager 1.0. I think sometimes we forget, we being everyone who watches football, that quarterback influence is like 50% of winning. You can't put 100% of team wins and losses on quarterbacks. And so I agree, like when people scoff at quarterback wins, yeah, like you can't. Like Drew Brees had the worst defense in the NFL for 3 years and went 7-9, 7-9, 7-9. But a lot of other quarterbacks would have went 3-13 with those defenses, right? But I think quarterbacks are like 50% of how many games you're going to win, how far are you going to go in the playoffs. And so if you nail that, if you get a guy better than Kirk even, that can lift up a bad offensive line more than Kirk does, right? A guy that can rise up in moments of pressure against great teams. And those are the instances that Kirk doesn't really perform as well in. Statistically, you can look, the last 4 minutes of the fourth quarter, he's not very good. Yes, the Saints game was amazing. Yes, the Broncos game in the regular season was amazing. But like, how many times are we going to cite those two instances in a 6-year starting career? He's good, not great. If you find great at that position, it fixes a lot of the things that we sit and nitpick on the Vikings roster year after year after year. Mm-hmm. Do you think like finally Russell Wilson, after like 12 years, that roster has eroded so much in Seattle, and they've whiffed on so many draft picks that it becomes glaring. But like there was a lot of years where the Seahawks didn't have a great interior offensive line over here or a running back over there, and like you barely noticed because they were still going 11-5 and putting up 28, 30 points a game. So if you think a guy like that is going to fall to you at 14, you should be open-minded, even though you're all in tunnel vision for 2021. You guys want to see what Peter Schrager thinks is going to happen?
I want to see this huge trade.
Yeah, what do you got here?
Okay. Let's let me pull this up here on the old screen, and we'll dive into this. You can already see the first 2 picks here, or at least the first. Yeah, you can see the first 2 picks. And for the audio audience, we will guide you through this. Today's
we're less than a month away from that.
Love it. Yeah, we're like 3 weeks away.
Yeah, maybe.
3 weeks
Let's
away.
go.
Today's midweek mock is presented by our golfing loving friends at PXG Minneapolis, a golfer's paradise. In fact, it must feel great to just nail that first round pick. Like if you're the Jaguars, and your second round pick is important too, but you basically draft Trevor Lawrence, and then you have a tee time lined up. You're Urban Meyer. You got a big cigar in your mouth. I just found my franchise quarterback for 15 years. I'm going golfing. I'm going to grab those Gen 4 golf clubs from PXG, the best performing clubs PXG has ever made. Maybe I'm putting on my PXG golf shirt, my hat, my if they have a PXG white belt that we're going to get Judd to wear. I think that's the play. Yeah. The spring and summer apparel from PXG has arrived. PXG Minneapolis in Southdale Center. Find out more at pxg.com/Minneapolis. All right, midweek mock time.
I want a mock!
You guys can see this okay, right?
Yep.
Trevor Lawrence to the Jags. We got Zach Wilson to the Jets. So nothing too aggressive here. Mac Jones to the Niners, okay?
Don't buy it.
And then the first big Schrager
Yep, see, this is what's going to happen.
Wow.
And this is what's going to happen.
Schrager
Like
bomb.
something like this going to happen.
I thought it would be them.
The
Something
New
like this going to
England
happen.
Patriots trading up to number 4 for Justin Fields.
Yep.
This would be a trade that rocks the NFL, but I don't think it's too crazy. The Patriots don't envision having a pick as high as they currently do, 15th, anytime soon. And this is their year to make a big move if they're ever going to get their blue-chip quarterback to develop. Fields was a highly recruited player who performed on the biggest of stages, and this year's first and second rounder, plus next year's first and third, could be enough for New England to get Atlanta to move back 11 spots.
Yeah.
How about that if that happens?
That would be that's pretty plausible, though. Like, I could totally see that happening and not be surprised by it.
Jamar Chase to the Cincinnati Bengals. By the way,
so they don't?
I have not.
Oh.
I don't know who the Vikings pick. I have not scrolled down yet.
Whoa, at 6.
Wow.
Rashawn Slater to the Dolphins at 6.
So Penei Sewell's still out there, and Rashawn Slater jumping Penei Sewell.
But you know what? Here's what I love about Schrager. That's the type of thing that always happens in the real draft. Like where this is the receiver that everyone thought, and then the Raiders take a guy that was like 6th on Mel Kiper's board or something, right?
That's true.
And so this could happen. And by the way, we haven't gone through so we've been keeping track of all these mock drafts and the running tally of players that are most often mocked to the Vikings. To this point, Elijah Vera Tucker leads the pack, 5 different mocks to the Vikings. And then Christian, it's been a while since we've seen Christian Barmore, but he is second with 4 mocks to the Vikings. And then Christian Darrisaw and Kwity Paye both mocked twice to the Vikings. So just keep that in mind as we go down here.
Okay.
So Rashawn Slater, 6. Then we have another big trade. The Arizona Cardinals trading up
Declan's
from
guy.
16, right? Yeah, to get Kyle Pitts.
This is great. Great pick.
So you'd have Kyle
Great.
Pitts. You'd have DeAndre Hopkins. Like, oh my, that offense would be absurd.
Kyler Murray throwing to him.
Oh my God.
Yes. I could see this too. I love where Peter Schrager's head is at here. Just that's a good Cardinals team that needs like one more great offensive weapon to go along with DeAndre Hopkins. So
they're a problem if they get Kyle Pitts. Okay.
All right, down to number 8 here. Carolina Panthers take Penei Sewell.
Yep. Protect Sam Darnold.
Broncos take Trey Lance at 9.
Yeah, you know what? That's also plausible. I get that one.
Yeah, if Drew Lock's there, but yeah, I get it.
Declan's guy. Just loves Drew Lock.
Yeah, Declan, you can stop with the Drew Lock love, okay? George Payton doesn't believe that crap either.
Patrick Surtain, the cornerback to the Cowboys.
He's been consistently mocked there, right?
Pretty aggressively mocked.
It feels like most of the mocks we've seen has Surtain going to the Cowboys.
The Giants taking Micah Parsons from Penn State.
Okay.
Not many defensive players here. How many? So we've had these are the first 2 defensive players.
Yep.
Scrolling up, yeah.
Yep.
So we got to get to the 10th and 11th picks. Eagles taking Jalen Waddle at 12.
I like that.
The Chargers taking Christian Darrisaw, tackle from Virginia Tech.
Interesting.
That might hurt a little bit right there.
Yeah.
And that brings
then,
us
well,
to the
I think I know who it's going
to pick.
I think I know who it's going to be.
I have not seen it
So
yet.
you don't
Make
know?
a guess.
Okay.
Who would you take here if you're the Vikings? What are you doing here?
Well, with the 3 tackles gone that I want,
It's an edge rusher, right? You going edge rusher?
Here's the funny thing. I have 2 answers to this. I personally would probably take Elijah Vera Tucker here. I think Zimmer will be in Spielman's ear to take an edge rusher.
Now, I think, isn't Devontae Smith still on the board? Just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, yes, he is. But
I throw that out there.
I'll throw it out there.
That'd be fun, but I don't think it's happening.
All right, let's go down here and see what happens.
What do we got?
At pick 14, the Vikings take edge
Yep.
rusher Kwity Paye from Michigan.
I want a mock. If we are to believe the mocks that we've seen too at this point in time, because we've seen a ton of them, this is a stretch at 14. I feel like Kwity Paye is falling in a huge range of the first round. Don't you guys?
Yeah, we've seen him sort of late first round in some. And the write-up is from Peter Schrager. Kwity Paye improved every year at the college level and can play all 3 downs. He's as polished as any of the quarterback hunters in this class. Minnesota needs pass rush help ASAP. A lot of people are overreacting to that. Like, they definitely need another edge rusher, but people are overreacting to the low sack total last year. Danielle Hunter didn't play a snap, for God's sakes. I mean, it's just, yes, they need pass rush help, but they're not as desperate as some people are painting because Danielle Hunter's coming back.
And what do you address? Like, I don't know.
I just want to see where some of these other guys go. Devontae Smith falls to 16. How about that? The Lions
and that's
trade
a problem.
out and still get that weapon.
And that's a problem in Detroit.
I want to see where let's see here. J.C. Horn.
So he does not like Elijah Vera Tucker.
Where's Bateman?
I'm looking for Bateman. I'm trying to find Bateman.
He might be second round.
He's falling out. Oh, my God. He's falling out of the first round.
There is speculation that he will now go. I thought he was a top 10 at one point.
Interesting. Well, there you have it. You've got we'll add another Kwity Paye. So Kwity Paye, it's the third time that he has been mocked to the Minnesota Vikings, putting him in third so far.
I think Schrags might be right. I think Schrags.
I still
Schrags
think
man.
if they draft a defensive player in the first round, it means that they have found a left tackle of some kind that they trust before then. But in order to get Orlando Brown Jr., they probably won't be picking 14th in the first round.
I'm telling you guys, I'll bet you both right now, $10 a piece. Opening day, Brian O'Neill is the left tackle.
Yeah.
It's the right tackle where they're going to find a guy. But I don't trust these jokers. I honestly don't trust this. This is what I'm about to say is going to be laughable, but I don't trust them. O'Neill at left tackle, potentially not a disaster, okay? Dozier at left guard, Bradbury at center, Ezra Cleveland at right guard, and Rashad Hill at right tackle. I don't totally trust them not to try that.
I mean,
I don't think the head coach thinks about these things. I really don't think he does.
I think here's where I will defend them a little bit. I think they think very highly of Ezra Cleveland, and I think they think Brian O'Neill could make the transition also if needed to left tackle. Sure. And I think they like Rashad Hill a lot. I think they look at Rashad Hill and say, you know what, if he had to be the starting right tackle because we shovel things around, wouldn't be the end of the world. And you could defend all of those things. But on the macro level, if you're going into 2021 and you're mostly in experimental cross your fingers mode with 4 out of your 5 offensive linemen,
Yep.
or at least 3 out of the 5, if you trust O'Neill and Cleveland wherever they wind up to be starters, it just doesn't. I don't know. It just seems too risky for me. It just seems, especially after you learned your lesson the hard way last year with pass protection. But
if the first day of training camp, Dakota Dozier is in line to start at left guard, you're all fired. Like I will replace you that day.
Pre-game
I don't
ceremony
care what
at
you're
US
doing.
Bank Stadium.
Yeah. I
quit the show if that happens.
I don't care what you're
gone.
doing at the tackles. I don't care what you're doing anywhere else. You could have the greatest. You could field the greatest team of all time. But if you come to me and are like, you know what, we're going back with Dakota at left guard, you're all fired.
I love it. I love it.
Reckless speculation.
That's a wrap on this Reckless Speculation Among Friends edition of Purple Daily. If you want more Reckless Speculation Thursday, we do it every Thursday on Mackey and Judd, which is our other daily show. Mackey and Judd, Purple Daily. We've got the Scoop with Doogie. We've got Royce Unchained, and now 10,000 Swings. It's Masters Weekend if you partake and celebrate. And so check out our weekly Minnesota golf podcast called 10,000 Swings as well. Apple, Spotify, and scorenorth.com. And boys, so I know we promised a backup quarterback meat and potatoes discussion. I think that's going to happen on 4-Question Friday tomorrow. A lot of things to discuss. Sean Mannion's a free agent right now, if I'm not mistaken. So they don't
no, he is. It really concerns me.
Look out.
I mean, if they lose him, what's next?
All right, for Judd, for Dex, for Phil, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.